The observation is brought to you by Cash App. Cash App's an easy way to send your friends money back and forth, and it's also a super, super easy way to invest into Bitcoin. You can do it with as little as $1. And if you use the code Aubrey and you're a new user to Cash App, you'll get $15 in free money when you sign up. Terms apply, so use my code. And now let's get into the show. You don't own me. Welcome back to the Hampton special edition of The Observation, where I just didn't want to go back to New York to film anything, so I made the producers come out here, which that's not a bad gig to come out here. Anyway, here with Lord Miles, was in Afghanistan when the Taliban was there, and also a Catholic.
Yes, exactly.
I'm also Catholic.
Oh, good to hear. Excellent stuff.
Yeah, well, how would you describe your Catholicism, by the way?
I would say new but very strong, so...
You're new Catholic.
I would say 2018, because it does take a lifetime, doesn't it? But at the same time, I found God in a tough place, and then from there, I've grown into faith very strongly, and I've started to hate the West just a little bit. But I'm very strong towards Catholicism, especially as it declines.
You converted to Catholicism?
Oh yeah, I was one of those Reddit atheists that was very cringy. You know those that would be in the comments section talk about Sky Daddy and all that? I was one of those, and
oh my God,
I regret it so much.
So
incredibly cringy.
Give me your conversion story.
Yeah, I was literally homeless in the streets of Birmingham, which is it's England's Detroit basically. It was tough, it was cold. It was no fault of my own, but I was 18 and it was a tough spot. And then
how old are you now?
22. Hairline says 40, but 22 right now. But I was in a tough spot, and
I love your guys' banter. I love the English. You guys just rip yourselves.
Oh, thank you. It's how we hide our insecurities.
Yeah,
good.
no, I could. There we go.
But it was a tough spot, and at that point, I kind of questioned my position in life. And then I noticed my friend, Roman. He doesn't mind me saying his name, and he brought me to church. And at that point, I went, makes sense. It all kind of came together, it all clicked, and I started going, and then I noticed the non-Catholic lifestyle was just becoming really inhospitable to me almost, and then I just grew into it, and I became infinitely happier, way happier.
So you went to one mass, and you said, this clicks, this makes sense for me, that's all
exactly.
It took? What was it in the mass that changed it for you?
It was almost peaceful. It made sense because when I was 14, I went through this phase of reading some nihilistic books, some French philosophy stuff from the 70s. Yeah. And I realized this is retarded.
Yeah.
Life clearly has a purpose. There's something to work towards. I might as well not be depressed all the time. It was literally a decision not to be depressed.
Wow.
It was pretty nice,
So do you feel like everything matters or nothing matters? Because that's something that I feel like people keep saying all the time now. Nothing matters. Nothing matters.
I think a lot matters. I would say 80% of things matter. But if you think everything matters all the time, you become ridden with anxiety because you're constantly worrying about every little niche. And I've seen that destroy some people, especially on the left. They get upset about everything on the internet and they take it to their core. But I think if you just look after yourself and the people around you in such a caring way on the surface level, then 80% matters and you're very happy. I'm guessing you've come across something like that yourself, right?
Yeah, it's just interesting to hear because I also agree with you. I think if everything matters, you worry about. I mean, it's why people engage in, like the trolls and comments. If you can look at something and say I disagree with this, and not give a shit and just keep scrolling through it. But there are people that think that everything matters and that everything needs to be responded to are the ones that are making themselves miserable online all the time.
I know the people, yeah. They just see everything and we take 20 minutes to respond to each
of
comment.
Their life.
Yeah, exactly.
And their valuable, beautiful life.
And the other person stops responding and then they actually think they've won something and they gain that little... power process and they think they've gained something from it. But in real life, they're just sitting behind a desk in a dark room with food rotting around them, with no friends, and they're gaining man boobs and all that stuff.
Do you feel like that's what you were doing on Reddit back in the day?
No. I would say I was slowly getting into it, but I cut it very early, thankfully. But I've seen some of my ex-friends who went down that route.
Yeah.
And, it's not a pretty sight to see.
Yeah. Okay, so... back to this conversion story, because this is really amazing to me because I've taken friends to mass sometimes and they're like, I want to go to mass, I want to go to church with you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of longingness. I get, actually, if I ever post a story of, me at, or not me at church, but I like just how beautiful it is because I think cathedrals are gorgeous.
Exactly.
So I post it on my story and people will naturally reach out. Like number one, people always say to me, I didn't know you were religious. You would never say that to anyone in any other religion, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Would you say that to a Muslim person?
Yeah, if you say something to a Muslim the same way you speak to a Christian in the West, they'll obviously unite against you. You'll be called Islamophobic. But if you insult a Catholic in the West, it's almost encouraged, especially on Reddit and those niche internet sites that are just full of losers. No joke, they are losers spiritually and in real life most of the time.
Well, that's some of the time why I don't talk about being a Catholic, because I feel like people then put me in a box of, oh, you're closed-minded, oh, you're traditional, you're this way or that way, because they see Catholics that way. Do you feel that way?
I think so, but if they label my beliefs as closed-minded, I am the most closed-minded person in the world. If they say, oh, you're not pro-abortion, you're not pro multiple orgies every week, stuff like that, I'm definitely closed-minded.
Yeah.
I'm going to double down on it.
Yeah.
Because I think if you tread around these people and kind of give in to their sensibilities and their comforts,
yeah,
they get reassured of their beliefs that they're right. But if you challenge them, they just crumble. And then they realise, oh, maybe I'm actually depressed and hate my life because of my beliefs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you noticed it's always the liberals, those types who are really upset with themselves? They shave their heads, they dye their hair, they have no sleep schedule. But then they preach to you about happiness and say their lifestyle will cause happiness, even though they're on multiple depression medications.
I would say that I don't know if it's a type of person, but I do. One of the cringe statements that I hear from people that are kind of on that side are, find your truth.
Yeah, no.
Your truth? Like, the truth itself is not for
subjective.
anyone. Yeah, subjective. It's not for anyone to basically say. And I just find that funny, because then no one knows what the fuck they're looking for. If everyone has their own unique thing, it just, you can have your opinions and your thoughts, but that's not a guiding light.
They just don't want to take personal responsibility. That's what I think.
Really?
Yeah, they don't want to look back at themselves and think, oh, this doesn't make sense about me. I should change it and actually have to go through a tough process. They just want to indulge constantly, if that makes sense. And indulgence a little bit is fine, you can enjoy yourself from time to time. But when you're constantly just doing everything that makes you happy, partying and all that, you just become miserable. So these people are using that as an excuse by finding your truth, like you said. And then they just go down that roller coaster spiral of, depression, all that. I think we've all got a friend that has gone down something like that. We've seen it, but you can't exactly describe it.
Yeah. Okay, so we totally skipped over your craziest stories, by the way, which is one of the main things I want to talk about. But I actually am so interested in Catholicism, and it's so rare to find someone that actually identifies as Catholic, so I had to talk about it. Okay. Craziest shit. You were... How long were you there?
In Afghanistan. Only 5 days, but I was the last ever tourist in Afghanistan before the country fell. So I went on there in a tourism visa. I arrived, started posting on 4chan about it. My first time on 4chan, by the way, so that's quite an introduction. And I started just posting, the country's under siege, blah, blah, blah. I was just documenting the entire thing. No one else was on the ground, no news channels and everything. So I was everyone's source of news. And it was very bizarre, but I weirdly liked it. It was actually the most enjoyable time of my life.
Why?
I don't know, it was weirdly calming. I enjoyed the adrenaline of running. I enjoyed the actual nature of the place. It was a beautiful country. I got questioned by the Taliban for a good minute at one point, and they were kind of cornering me, and I just talked my way out of it. And it was so satisfying to get away with just walking away from them. They cornered me after the takeover, right? And then they asked me, oh, are you British? Giving me this evil look. And I go, oh, no, I'm Welsh. And they don't know where Wales is. So they go, you're Welsh? What's this? And I go, oh, it's a country next to England. We're occupied by England. And I go, one struggle, brother. We've been invaded by England, like you. And they look at me and just start smiling, pat me on the back and send me on the way and take me to enjoy my stay. So I talked my way out of some trouble with the Taliban.
All because they didn't know basic geography.
Yeah, I decided to just shitpost in real life, and it worked. And that's what I do now. I take serious situations, make it human. Because you can't relate to war reporters. You see this in Ukraine too. Most of them just lie. There's a lot of manipulation on both sides. I just go there as a normal person and say how it is, and that's what I do basically.
Okay, so backtrack to the Taliban. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like they're just like a bunch of thugs like that are just stupid and not real, like, because America back in the early 2000s, we all had this idea of what the Taliban was, and it's obviously 20 years later. So what is the Taliban today? What does that look like? Who are they?
Yeah, so today they're actually a lot better than they were in the 90s. In the 90s, they were smashing up TVs and saying if you watch Oprah, you're a Satanist, equivalent in Islam. But right now, they're on TikTok just making memes of the Americans and stuff, shitposting constantly. I actually ran into the Taliban about 2 months ago, once again, in Afghanistan, because they're everywhere. And they were just like, oh, you're Catholic, that's chill, mate. Want to grab some food? And he just gave me food. It was great. Like, if I go to an atheist and say I'm Catholic...
the Taliban's not a threat? They're helpful?
They were helpful to me. They were very kind. I judge someone individually, from experience.
Good people, would you say?
Depends on the individual. You get some Taliban, and even the Taliban agree with this, you get some Taliban that are just psychopaths who just want to murder people, like the Mexican cartels and even some US soldiers from time to time. But some of them are very good people who will just reach out and be cool. If I go on my Twitter DMs right now, I can see one Taliban member just messaging me, hey, with 5 Ys and a kiss emoji. They just vibe. It's funny.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah, if you dig into the Taliban kind of TikTok, Twitter posts, you see this different world where they act like 15-year-old boys just discovering the internet. It's really entertaining.
This is news. Do you feel that it's cool that the Taliban is on Twitter and not Trump?
I want Trump to be on Twitter. I like Trump.
But
I just think
but
it's
that's
funny.
The question. But what is it? Do you think it's fair that
No, I don't think it's fair. I honestly think Twitter's a cesspool, and they're obviously filtering it for a real reason, because Twitter's not really profitable, and having Trump on there would make money, so they're doing it for a political agenda. So they're clearly doing it to undermine some people in the US. Like, if they censored left-wing people, I'd be upset about that. I want everyone to have somewhat of a voice. And censoring Trump, bad decision. Because if he comes back in the next elections in the US, it's going to have a ramification, and it's going to piss off a lot of people.
Interesting.
What do you feel?
On what part?
Trump being banned from Twitter.
I thought it was not the right move at the time. Yeah. I think companies should run... as they should not run as like, so this has been a problem since like the mid 2015 on. Every company runs like a social agenda, and it's impossible to keep up with, right?
Yeah.
Because then you're never going to be keeping up with everything, and then you're spending all your time basically like changing your logo to the latest cause, and it's just detracting from what your business is doing. And I think businesses should just run as a business. They should not, and if your employees disagree with you, you're also pushing away some of the top talent that could work at your company, because you've already put out an agenda. And I do think that there's times to stand by what's right, but maybe that's just like the CEO or whatever can make an individual statement on their beliefs and viewpoints, which is totally fine. Everyone has a right, but I think forcing full companies to feel a certain way when they don't is not what we signed up for. We signed up to do a job.
Oh yeah, it's globalization in general. They just kind of bully everyone into submission to follow a certain agenda.
Yeah, it's not,
sucks.
and it's inauthentic like show of favoritism towards a cause. It's not actually real championing, and it's very shallow.
Oh yeah.
So it doesn't mean anything anyway. So then why are we wasting all our time doing it?
Exactly. I've been trying to cancel myself on purpose, just so everyone knows what I'm about, really. I actually post my address publicly every few weeks online and hope that people come to my house, because I think it'll be funny. I
think you're like a masochist a little bit. You like running into the Taliban. You like posting your address online.
I just don't think I like England. It kind of sucks. I just want to get away.
Damn. So are you legally here?
Yeah, sadly. But in a few months, I'm going to jump the US-Mexican border. I heard that's pretty easy to do. And
you should do it in Juarez.
Oh, should I?
Yeah.
Amazing, good stuff. It'll give me an opportunity to visit Texas and LA and everything.
Totally.
I want to do a video too when I'm homeless in LA for one week and just film it secretly and see what reactions I get and what really happens, and speak to some people. I just feel like the US is really interesting. Have you ever traveled outside
of the US?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What would you say your favorite country is?
It's hard because I've spent just small amounts of time in each one, and to like really know a country and understand it. Like I've seen crazy shit, like the way Singapore is, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
you get hit with a cane for chewing gum or whatever. And I've been to England, and I lived in Dublin for a bit.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, glad you escaped.
Yeah, no, it was that, living in Ireland feels like you're back in the 90s. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's very traditional, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a nice Catholic country, so did you enjoy that aspect, or?
Yeah, but it just feels like everyone takes themselves so seriously over there. Everyone's it's just the way people conduct themselves. But yeah, I mean, I've been all over the place. It's just, I don't know. I think America's a great country. I think we have a lot of problems.
Oh yeah.
But like living here is very nice.
Yeah.
I'll never say it's not.
Yeah, I actually am considering moving here at some point, because anywhere but England,
Why do you hate England?
It's just grey. I mean, it's grey in general. I know one thing I used to do, and it'll tie back into this, but one thing I used to do is live in the cheapest house possible, dirt cheap. And such a house will be depressing, right? And it would play on your mood and impact your entire life. Same thing with England, because it's really ugly, it's grey, it's cold, and it's not nice cold or calming or anything. It's just depressing. It brings your mood down, everything about you. You don't get vitamin D. Right here I feel great because the sun's out, everything's green, and people are just nice. English people, if you speak to them on the street, they look at you like you just killed their dog. If I speak to an American, they're actually kind of kind.
But that's because Americans like your accent. Immediately, you're more like, people are more receptive to you. You have a different outlook.
Oh, that's good. I just think they can't understand me half the time.
They're like, oh, a foreigner, someone that's not American. If you talk to another American, they're like, oh, what do you want? Sometimes. Depends on where you are, what neighborhood you are.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Or in England, if you do that with an English accent, they still stab you or something. I've been threatened with knives in England so much. I think I've had more issue with crime and war in England than I have with Afghanistan, South Sudan, pretty much any war zone in the last 6-9 months roughly.
Holy shit, that's a fire take. Damn.
Yeah.
So, okay, we ask all the guests that come on the show, what is one real based unpopular take, whatever, that you hold right now that people would be like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah, I think colonization should have still been a thing, and we should have got rid of the colonies as England.
You think colonization should still be a thing?
Oh, it should still be a thing. I've been to South Sudan. It's pretty much the hellhole of Africa in general, and Africa's not well off in general anyway, so it really puts things into perspective. There was open sewage everywhere, even next to the nice restaurants, which there are pretty much none. The UN keeps up 80% of the country. I think if we own South Sudan still, it'll be a tough transition period, but it would be slightly better off than it is right now.
Jesus.
Yeah, I would say the same about some other areas too, with the British colonies. Like India could have been accelerated so much more forward, because they had a weird backwards economic policy where it was half crappy capitalism, half crappy communism mixed together, and stunted its growth. It could be really prosperous right now. In the Anglosphere, we could have used it to fight China too, from becoming a great power and threatening the West, right now. There's so much advantages to actually owning all these little powers across the world. I think if we even owned the US still, it would have been an interesting time, but I just don't like the idea of England being a really pathetic small island and slowly declining.
It is, though.
Yeah, a little bit.
What do you think about China? What do you think? How big of a threat is China to the world?
I've done a lot of research on this, and potentially China can collapse in the next 30 years, or it can just completely destroy the world in some ways. There's no in between, because every once in a while China has a social collapse where the population gets too high or too low. They go into a period of isolation, and they become regressive in technology and everything. And right now, the Chinese economy is just really backwards, where they control every little piece of the pie, or every little piece on the board. So we just have no idea what they're doing and how they're actually doing it. So they could really mess up really quickly. Or they could pull their stuff together, overtake the US, because they think long term. The US thinks in 4-year re-election cycles, as you've probably seen, right?
Yeah.
As I think the US's furthest plan is basically the next Marvel movies or something, and theirs is how do we economically destroy the world? So they want to do that basically. And I've spoken to loads of Chinese people, and they're really hardworking. They're doing 18-hour days in high-end fields, and they're incredibly manipulative. And they have to be. I mean, they're 4'6" in some areas. They've got nothing else to do. They're not exactly going to have a wife or anything. So it's a really weird country.
Yeah, never been. And you spent time there?
I want to go. I worked for a Chinese investment bank at some point throughout uni, and it was insane. Work ethic insane. I want to go to one of those Uyghur camps in the mountains and just film it with as ultra zoom lens camera.
You should. You totally should.
Yeah, I won't be arrested by the CCP for 10 years. Lovely stuff.
Damn. So your whole thing is you just go out and you
do
film
retarded stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how you live.
Yeah, I honestly would say, if I'm at home, not in a war zone, I feel almost sad to some degree.
So then, that's odd, because I feel like your whole thing is like Catholicism brought you so much peace, but you still have to go get these like dopamine hits by doing kind of like going out there.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like it gets to some point where I can have a routine and my goals around, and I'm with my friends, I'm going to my church, but then I have this itch where I just really want to go do something dangerous or do something very charitable. It's like in Ukraine, we bought a car in Poland, drove into the front lines, got some refugees out and drove out, and that was stupidly enjoyable. Then I got home, felt great for a day, and then afterwards I sat on my bed and I was like, what now? Do I just go back to the same cycle consistently?
What is that about you that makes you want to do that?
I think just because I can, if that makes sense. It's really neurotic because I worked in banking, right? So you have to be a little bit of a narcissist to do that stuff. But at the same time, I don't want to be seen behind a desk. I actually want to be physically running or dodging bullets or doing or investigating something very silly. I think it's just my personality in general. I always have to be doing something. Like even right now, I was like, yeah, this podcast, definitely.
Yeah, you just need to... What do you mean, this definitely? You need to be on it?
I always want to do something, even if it's something I might regret, as long as it's morally sound, it's worth the experience. Like always in these moments when I'm in Afghanistan or South Sudan or wherever, whichever war zone, I feel tired at the time and I just question, why am I doing this? And then always afterwards, when I look back upon it, I go, that was genius. I love that. I should do it again. So I feel like I'm going to have a happy ending where obviously I just retire at an old age and it's all fine. I don't die in a war or something. Be sarcastic, but
knock on wood.
Yeah, exactly. Baby wheel wood. But I think you have to go there and experience it for yourself to actually understand it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're one of those people that just wants to just go do it all because you're here, and why not?
I think it's like crypto for you. I mean, imagine just working a 9 to 5. I mean, there's nothing wrong with working a normal job. That's completely fine. I actually encourage it. It's very honourable. But
Agreed.
If you get into something where you can get good money or something very good comes to you morally, like crypto or something, you never want to go back to something normal. Yeah. I mean, you always transition, but it's the same thing really in spirit.
Yeah, I think about the 9 to 5 thing a lot because there is something good. I think people need purpose, right? Not everyone should be out doing content and filming. Like the society needs to front forward. We can't just have people TikToking in the streets. But at the same time, there's something cool that the internet has provided people, which is a way to monetize their hobbies or talents onto a platform. Though TikTok is owned by China, that's a whole other thing. But if we're just talking about the internet generally, people can have found ways to monetize like what they want to do. And even if it's as silly as something very niche, like I follow someone on TikTok that cleans gravestones, massive followers.
I've seen that.
And tells stories. Yeah, but there's that appeals to someone, and TikTok's being used as like a Google search engine. And if you can find something that you're passionate about and you can figure out a way to like captivate an audience and monetize it, that's great. If you go into crypto and I think this idea of being this self-sovereign individual who can provide for themselves as an entrepreneur and a new facet is interesting to me, because I think companies for so long have kind of are so soul crushing, right? People would drive 3 hours in a car one way to go to work sometimes and like flip around, work a full day, drive back, sleep a few hours, not see their family. That's not a life. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, when this great country of America was settled, people...
But you think should be still colonized or still owned by England?
I think it's interesting. I would like to see the results, but other countries, maybe, yeah. But not the US. I think the US has obviously overtaken the UK in its own individuality.
Yeah.
But back in the day when the US was founded, people would go out on their own accord with their savings and then build settlements for themselves and be self-sufficient. And that brought you a lot of joy because your end result, your product of your existence came from everything you put in. You could physically see the result of your labor. You know, you put down that nail and that wood to make your house and everything like that. But nowadays, you are such a small cog in such a big machine. You have no idea what your Excel spreadsheet that you make ends in, and you don't get any satisfaction from it because it's not physical labor like humanity was actually made to do.
Yeah.
No one was made to sit behind in the desk for 16 hours a day. And that's why I realized in banking, I was like, it pays well, but damn, I don't want to sell my soul for, this salary.
I feel like a lot of guys get into finance because they feel like that's the only like honorable, like good, respectable job that they can do.
Oh yeah.
And it's this whole thing, and I see a lot of it. I just see it everywhere, and I'm like, do you actually want to do that? Do you actually, or do you just do that because society has told you that this is what men should do, and that's what a successful man looks like? Work in banking, work at a hedge fund, work at your dad's company, and that you have no interest in doing it, but you are also like not free to do anything else other than that. It's like kind of handcuffed.
Oh yeah, everyone thinks it's this sexy idea where you walk around in a suit and go buy, sell, invest in this and so on. But then they realise it's actually slow, and it's not like the movies. Like, people watch Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad and actually become meth dealers. It's hilarious. So it's the same type of thing. They actually think it's really romantic and you can make easy money real quick and everyone will love you. But it's just a bunch of narcissists and psychopaths in suits draining their mental state to try and get scraps of each money and then outlast each other so they can climb on those limited positions and then make enough money to live in the big city they have to live in because they can't commute because everyone's working 18-hour days.
Yeah.
And that's what we don't tell you.
Sounds like jail. Sounds like prison.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's what they don't tell you about finance. Like,
so you think finance bros are all crazy? Like, would you say that women should date a finance bro, or absolutely not?
Investment banker, maybe not. But then again, I am away a lot of the time too, and I've got a girlfriend, so that's something I consider heavily. So I might be hypocritical to say that. But if you can make it work, yes, but you have to acknowledge how much of a struggle it would be. There's a lot of finance bros that actually aren't finance bros. They're complete liars. They buy followers on TikTok and get a fake chart up and show, oh, I made this on this option call, and it's complete nonsense. About 90% of people that are finance bros just don't know what they're talking about. There's this idea as well where you just should take the general consensus of finance or predictions on the internet and then just invert it because that'll actually make the money.
It's like the Jim Cramer inversion.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly think working a normal 9 to 5 and having a 1 hour little side hustle skill thing and then coming home to your family and you can invest in that and actually rest, that sounds like a decent life to me. No joke, if I wasn't doing this job and I lived in America, I'd work at some Catholic company or something. You guys have a Catholic fast food company, don't you? A Christian fast food company.
Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A. I would work at Chick-fil-A as a manager. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's $45,000 a year, plus benefits, maybe healthcare if you work the hours. I'd be fine with that, plus free food. I love Chick-fil-A.
Wow. And you just do that?
I wouldn't mind it, yeah. I would go hiking on the weekends. I would have a normal holiday every once in a while, maybe not to a war zone. I don't know, I can see it being an honourable life. It's kind of
It's
beautiful.
honourable, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe 5 years in I'll kind of regret it, but you can always change. But if I go down this route, I can't put on my CV, yeah, I was going to war zones for like 10 years, bro, and I just want to work now with this like bank. It's so normal, and they wouldn't give me an interview. So I have to dedicate myself to this. As I can imagine with you too, if you wanted to work a normal job, they'll be like, why are you doing this now? We're not going to hire you.
Probably. I don't know. I have to bridge that road when I come to it. This doesn't take off.
Yeah, the upcoming recession, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might be at Chick-fil-A.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I'm just kidding. But I do love their sandwiches. They're so good.
Oh, you make me hungry now.
I know, I'm hungry. Anyways, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And this is a really good interview.
Thank you.
It's really cool to meet you.
Yeah, actually flowed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff.